My people. Hope everybody's having themselves a good day. Make sure you hit the like button down there, please, if you don't mind. And if you do, you will automatically be able to win yourself a Hyper Tough quick wire splice set. Guys, make sure you check out Apex Alchemy and Satu Dave on YouTube. They're awesome dudes. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I have 2 different giveaways going on. One is just for the subscribers of the channel, and another is for Patreon. There will be a link in Patreon in the description for Patreon if you're interested. In order to get in on that, all you need to do is the lowest tier on Patreon is $3. And that is the price of a shitty cup of coffee, so it is affordable. And I'm giving away about $350 worth of stuff on there. Good knife, a Hinderer pen, all that good stuff. And if you don't want to do that and you still want to participate in a giveaway, I do have a giveaway going on in the regular. Just a couple videos down. All you got to do is look at my video list and look down at that. This is one of those knives that's in there. There's also a really nice titanium and carbon fiber Tucson. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. I would like to thank my patrons. There are a few now. I will make a list so I can thank them by name in the next video. All right, so I set out a few knives here so y'all have something to look at while I ramble a little bit, because I'm going to ramble today. I got me a cup of coffee here and ready to go. So, I was thinking about the things that I look for in a knife whenever I want to purchase a knife. And there's a few things that sometimes make and break it for me. I like to call it like the 7 deadly sins of knife purchasing. And if a knife has more than 2 of these things or 1 of these things, even if I like it, I'm probably just going to stay away from it. And I have more than 7 written down here. I'm going to talk about 7 that are really, really important to me, and then like 3 more, I guess you would call it other things that could be issues as well. Number 1, and these are not in any particular order except for number 1. And that would be a crappy steel with a crappy heat treat, or just a good steel with a crappy heat treat. So shit steel heat treat / heat treat. And what I mean is like this is AUS 8. To me, that steel is seen its day and it should be done. It is not a great steel. It does not hold an edge for a long time. It is quite stainless and easy to sharpen, but this list is for stuff I look for, and I just, that steel's not for me. It's a good budget steel, I guess, but it's not my thing. Or anything in the 420 series, like a 420J, 420A, whatever. Those are terrible. Any of the 7CR, 5CR that Gerber seems to love, for some reason, those are an absolute no-no. I don't understand why they think that's cool to put on a knife, because it's terrible. Or anything from Damascus, a crappy Damascus out of 2 crappy steels put together. That's an absolute no-no. But then you also get stuff like that'll be a good steel, like for instance, let's say this Elmax, and not saying this particular knife, but unfortunately, Zero Tolerance has had heat treat issues in the past. So far as I can tell, this one sharpens and holds an edge like it should. I have used this quite a bit. This is one of my favorite knives. But you can get a crappy heat treat that'll make an Elmax or 20CV or any other steel just terrible. So that's number 1 on the list. Number 2, I don't have any knives that have this issue, but it is most definitely an issue, and that is the lock. That means like your lock has a fucking lock. So Cold Steel does it a lot. Lion Steel has the roto block lock, like it's a frame lock, and then on the stabilizer turns and locks that lock. Dude, we don't need that. Come on. We don't need two locks. We don't need a lock that locks the lock. That's come on, stop it. So that's one thing that's almost just, I can't deal with. And then number 3 is terrible geometry for no reason at all. So blade geometry is how it is ground and how well it cuts is what I mean by that. So this knife has a small blade, a blade that is clearly designed to use and to cut, but it has terrible geometry that makes it almost unusable. So I sharpened it and laid the edge back a little bit. It was 30 degrees. Come on, man. Per side. 30 degrees per side. So I laid it back to 20, which is still a little bit not to my liking. I'm going to lay it back again, but I wanted to make sure I didn't make the edge really, really tall. So this is a $425, $450 knife. It should flip and cut. And it should cut right out of the box, right from the factory. And it should cut well. And it did not. It cuts much better now that I've laid the edge back some. But this definitely needs to be reground. I'm not going to do that because that'll just destroy the value of it. And right now I have to worry about the value of the knife. I love the knife. It is an excellent design. It is very well made, and I love Hinderer, but terrible geometry. This knife has poor cutting geometry. Now I have put a nasty, nasty mirror edge on there, and it's overcome most of that, but it still does not cut as well as it should. Something that does cut well is this Chinese-made Beg Steelcraft. Has a very thin behind the edge, beautiful hollow grind, and it is a slicing machine. So this one, not great cutting ability, not great geometry, but it cuts. This one, excellent geometry. And this new ZT here I got, it is better than this one, but it's still not great. The blade's quite tall though, so that does help. So that's number 3. Number 4, which should probably be at number 1 or 2, is false labeling. So like this knife says USA on the blade, but it is clearly made in China. And that drives me crazy. I can't get it to focus. Sorry. There we go. You know, they're being transparent about it being made in China, but there should be no USA on that blade whatsoever. And that is my opinion. Holbach got into some trouble by making knives overseas and not telling anybody. It's not cool. So I'm not going to stay on that any longer. All right. Next, number 5 is a weak detent or a strong detent, or too strong of a detent. Either one. I don't have any knives with bad detents at the moment. I have in the past. This one is almost too light, but it is just good enough. I can't fly it open. Just good enough to be okay. This one has an excellent detent. Perfect. And most of my other ones are absolutely perfect as well. This one is too. So that is number 5. Detent issues. Can't have that. This one's kind of hard here. This is a pretty strong detent. I'm hoping it'll loosen up a little bit. Next thing, lock rock or poor lockup in general. So lock rock. This knife has lock rock, which means it moves up and down while it's locked up. This one is because of there's no, this is an older knife and there is no lock bar insert. But it makes it's an irritating thing, but this knife still functions correctly. Some ZTs in the past have had poor lockup. Whenever you locked it up, you can spine smack it against something and it would shut, and that's no good either. So lockup is important. Lock stick is not that big of a deal, but lock rock kind of bothers me. This one, in this case, it is so minute that it's not that big of a deal, because it barely does it. It used to be a lot worse. I took it apart and messed with it a little bit, and it's much better now, but it still does it. So poor lockup is just a no-go for me. Like old Striders have many issues with lockup, so that's no good. Number 7, being dangerous in any way. I don't really have any dangerous knives, but this one kind of is. This is my daughter's knife. It is clearly, they were going after a woman or a child with this knife, with the Hocus Pocus. It's pink, and it's a slip joint. I think it's kind of dangerous for a girl or a woman, because there's no half stop, and it would be quite easy to get your fingers in that, especially for a child or a little girl or a woman. Also, it is 100% a two-handed knife all the time. So anyway, it could be dangerous. Another thing that is what I mean by dangerous, like the Spyderco Tropin. It is a Spyderco knife, big old gorgeous looking knife, but it has the compression lock, and whenever it closes down, this part of the blade, this little point here, comes around and is exposed where the cutout is for that compression lock. So if you shut it and just flip it down to close the blade, that point there can hit your finger if your finger is still on that compression lock. I wish I had one to show you more what I was talking about, but anyway, any kind of dangerous shit like that, that's no good. Or if the tip of the knife in the closed position is so close that it can hook or snag on anything, like this one won't, but some knives can get snagged on something or your fingertip. I don't think I have a knife that I can do that with. Maybe, no, see, that could be an issue too, and that could be dangerous. You know, that's just what it is. So I have a couple more here that'll be like honorable mentions. They're irritating, but it's not technically a deal breaker. 2 different torque sizes, more than 2 different torque sizes. So 2 is very common. Like you'll have a T8 pivot and a T6 clip screw. That's just part of the game, man. You know, so that is what it is. Like this has T10, I believe, all the way around, and T6 clip screws. But if it has more than 2, that's just, come on, man. Like a T6 and a T8 and then a flathead pivot, that's no good. Another thing is so much different hardware, and Hinderer is the worst about it. You have a Phillips, a flathead, a T6, and T6. Pick one, man. You've been making knives a long time. Just pick one. Phillips, flathead, and Torx all on the same knife. That is bananas. And in my opinion, that's dumb. Just put Torx on the... I don't know. He must have so many of these little Phillips clip screws that he just doesn't want to lose his ass on them. I mean, he must have tens of millions of them because he just doesn't want to change them to a Torx. And lastly, the last thing is just a poor design in general. And I don't have... This is really the only knife that could even be considered poor design. You got a tip down carry, which is a no-no. You got this ridiculous, whatever the hell that is, keychain, holder or whatever it is. You know, this knife is made in the United States. The box says it is anyway. It's a Baron Son. It came really, really sharp. It is in 440 stainless, not awful steel, but and it's aluminum frame. But this is just a bad design, and you're giving, and this, it's labeled for a child or a young woman. At least give them something that's halfway safe. So that's really all I have. I don't have anything else that's necessarily a poor design in general. Anyway, those are the things that I look for. If there's something else that you look for when you're looking to buy a knife, let me know in the comments, because I'm sure I missed something. You know, there's so many knives out there and so many different designs and so many aspects about every single knife. I'm sure I missed something that would probably bother me. So that's all I got for you guys. Make sure you subscribe so you can get on the giveaway. And if you haven't entered the giveaway, make sure you go do that, because it will end in just a couple days. And the Patreon ends on Saturday. So if you really want to get in on that AD 20.5 carbon fiber and S35VN, make sure you hit that link for Patreon and go check it out. All right, guys, that'll be all for today. This is a long video. It'll take forever to upload, so I will let y'all go. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your week. Later.